Ladies and gentlemen, it does appear that Hoyoverse is back at it again with more and more and more and more negative PR. It started off with Natlan version 5.3 with their incredible dual banner and the rewards of 20 pulls being locked off until after the dual banners of Mavuika and Silali are gone, screwing over a large portion of the player base, and now they are back at it again with another New Year's special. Only this time, instead of awful banners that are predatory towards the player base, it's layoffs for their employees. And so with that, we do have viral gacha news over here with a Reddit post on r/gacha gaming as the source, as well as numerous posts on LinkedIn and Facebook and Glassdoor, which are LinkedIn and Glassdoor. They're like actual professional websites. And what we're seeing over here is that a bunch of individuals working at Hoyoverse, especially on the EN side, have in fact been laid off. So let's go ahead, let's dive into this, let's break down what the full story is over here and why a lot of people might find themselves getting upset at the company for this. They're starting off the new year extremely strong, and yeah, honestly, I think sky is the limit for this company when it comes to negative press. So let's dive right on into it. Hoyo? Oh no. My time with Hoyoverse has come to an end. Made new friends, gained new skills, added global insights. Onward. Hashtag laid off. This kind of seems like a little bit upbeat for obviously what the entire context is of the situation. All I can say is, well then, traveler, bon voyage. I mean, maybe this person worked on the Genshin Impact team. Hats off to this person for having, this is a relatively positive outlook on the entire experience. I'm sure there's a lot of worse things that they could have said, but maybe they're just trying to keep it clean, keep it professional, to keep some of their future opportunities, still looking good. Let's see the next one. Happy New Year! It's been a while. Celebration emoji. Fireworks. After an incredible 2.5 years at Hoyoverse, I'm moving on due to the recent layoffs that took place before the new year. Oh boy. I bet the celebrations were awesome, given that news. So it looks like layoffs did in fact happen before the actual holidays. Looking back, I feel truly fortunate to have worked with such brilliant talents in the industry. I'm also grateful for the many inspiring candidates I had the privilege to connect with, whose unique experiences and stories left a lasting impact. Working in a global organization was an amazing experience, and I'm especially thankful for the opportunity to use my Mandarin skills in the role. And so this person was obviously like a senior recruiter at the organization. They were an individual who was in charge of bringing in new candidates, and seeing that they're laying off, or essentially, like firing a person that's in charge of bringing new talent into the business, that's a little interesting, right? It looks like that they are actually downsizing on their EN workforce dramatically. Maybe this means like a de-investment on the EN side of the game. Maybe they're, potentially thinking about not putting in as much effort on the global side. Or this means that they found different ways to get things done. Maybe something influenced a little bit by the rapid transition towards AI. We'll see more later. Lamau. So, no easy way to say this, but I just got laid off from Hoyoverse on the Genshin team. Let me see over here. They didn't specify Genshin over here, but this looks like they were definitely on the Genshin side. Lamau, so no easy way to say this, but I just got laid off from Hoyoverse on the Genshin side. I'll make a formal job post later, but if you know anybody hiring a writer/editor in games, think of me maybe. So this is obviously on Twitter. I actually want to see the prior role of this person over here. This was in marketing. This was in marketing and recruitment, perhaps. This is another person in recruitment over here. And now this is a third person over in writing/editing. So it looks like that these layoffs have happened across like a wide number of areas within the business, but obviously all on the EN side because these people are all making their posts in English. So by EN, I mean global as well. So definitely a lot of de-investment occurring over here. I am wondering if there have been similar things that have occurred on like the CN, JP, and KR side. Because if it's only EN, that would be a little bit concerning to me personally. And so now, we got a Glassdoor review, but this one is from October 30th, 2024. I want you all to keep in mind, this was at least a couple of months ago. So on Glassdoor, you can give like a rating. This is what a former employee has said about working at Hoyoverse. You will work with some of the most passionate people and further shape your skills. In the pros, Hoyoverse is a great stepping stone for your next company. Cons, layoffs are happening and not being communicated. And so I do believe that all of those prior tweets that we just saw, or prior tweets and LinkedIn posts that we just saw, people did not see those coming. And and they were all happening around the new year, where, you know, oftentimes it's a time for celebration, it's a time for, you know, good thoughts, good joy, and laying off people during that time of the year is one of the most dickish things that a company can do, and typically you do get a bad rep for actually doing that. And to see it happening over here is disappointing, obviously, right? It's disappointing when it happens in any business, and, you know, clearly Hoyoverse is a company that doesn't really, I guess, give a shit about like timing when it comes to these sort of things. They do not believe in communication if you are not based in their headquarters in Singapore. Bit of an Eastern bias then, perhaps, in their management. Internal politics affect global teams that had zero involvement. So global is basically just in charge of dealing with all of the fallout that happens internally. Who cares? Holidays in Singapore are respected, but global holidays are not. And we are often messaged to be online for non-emergent issues. So basically, you work the Singapore hours as well as the global hours. And you're always supposed to be available to answer questions, to do one-off tasks while you're potentially on holiday. And maybe that's why they laid off a lot of people during the new year, because the Chinese New Year is in February or in late January. And so maybe they just don't give a shit about, like, you know, the new year that basically the entire Western world actually cares about. Little bit unfortunate here if that's what's actually taking place. And I think the layoffs happening around New Year's is kind of like indicative of that. Get used to working late nights, as once the team in Singapore is on, you need to be as well. You need to be as well, despite set working hours. This is not a one-off thing. It's every day. If anybody has experience working hours, I do, across the globe, it is not something that you want to be doing day in or day out, because it quite literally, especially if you're on call during those later hours, that is quite literally one of like the worst working experiences you can ever have, because you're never in a state of relaxation. You're never in a state where you feel like you can like sit down and like focus and work on something else. You can't really have a hobby. You can't really like work on like, you know, maybe like a personal writing project or like a personal video project, because you do, you know, when you're like working on something, right, you want to be in like a zone. You want to have like uninterrupted time to like let your thoughts flow. And being in a constant state of worry where you have to like always be online to address or deal with something that comes over from the other side of the globe, that is just not conducive to any sort of creativity or any sort of hobby at all. You're in a constant state of stress that is basically for all 20 plus hours of the day. That hopefully you do get at least 4 hours to sleep in these situations. If you don't, it's just worse. And so the advice to management is communicate, treat your employees with respect, grow your employees instead of throwing them on any project because you don't have adequate headcount for the project load. Ironic that this was in October 30th, 2024. They're talking about not having adequate headcount, and their recruiting senior is somebody that got laid off. The person in charge of bringing in more headcount into the organization. It's not looking good. If you're working in global at Hoyoverse and they're downsizing when people are already complaining about not having enough headcount, boy oh boy, that just means that all of that responsibility, all of that extra work is just going to be distributed amongst a smaller number of people. And so if it was a problem in October 30th, you can imagine it might be a bigger problem now. So those are all the excerpts sort of describing the situation. Let's see if we can get some additional context over here. This person talked about the reason behind this wave of layoffs. It seems to be good for global and West and indicative of Hoyo's shift towards adapting generative AI. You thought that AI wasn't going to steal some jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears that you are incorrect. Let's see here. I recently wrote an article and published it to clear up the situation for everybody. In early 2025, Hoyoverse conducted partial layoffs in its human resources department. Several revealed they recently left. Blah, blah, blah. This is likely to attract widespread attention regarding Hoyoverse's direction in North America, especially considering that over the past year, Hoyoverse has had very few new development positions open, according to MiHoYo's overseas recruitment website. Hoyoverse North America currently has no available positions. Hoyoverse North America currently has no available positions, and they've laid off a fuck ton of people. Additionally, there were also significant layoffs in the community and marketing departments at Hoyoverse recently, which some employees described as part of a wave. While outsiders might speculate that MiHoYo's overseas layoffs are aimed at cost reduction and efficiency improvement, the reality may not be so. Recently, MiHoYo founder Kai Haoyou's AI company, Anudicon, that has to be a joke, right? That name has to be a joke, right? Anudicon, which was founded in 2023, has launched large-scale global recruitment efforts. The recruitment spans several cutting-edge technical fields, including language models and generative models, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, a bunch of shit. right? A bunch of like really technical jargon shit. It's basically about like game development. According to it, on their Anuticon recruitment information, the company is offering salaries of $8,000 to $15,000 per month for interns in the audio and speech research direction at its Singapore office. This translates to an annual salary of roughly $96,000 to $180,000, which is just for an internship position. Salaries may be even higher at the North American headquarters. So, what it looks like, ladies and gentlemen, is that they're taking all of this budget, right? Obviously, since miHoYo founder Anuticon, his Anuticon company, right, is going to be intrinsically linked to Hoyoverse, or miHoYo, which he also owns. That means that, yeah, there's going to be some mingling, right, between the two organizations. And so what it looks like is that a bunch of that budget, a bunch of that cost efficiency is instead being allocated towards a different company under the same umbrella, or at least the same owner. And that's why these salaries look insanely inflated, especially like this is ridiculous for a fucking intern position. And I'm assuming that because of all of these different capabilities that the AI technology is going to have, that's what they're going to be using to develop probably games like Genshin Impact. And so this to me really seems like most of Genshin's stuff in the future is going to be heavily AI driven to a degree. I mean, personally, I don't care that much because I think it's personally going to reduce the quality of the game unless they have like the most incredible generative AI ever. I do think that this is a cost-cutting measure at the end of the day and is going to reduce the overall quality of the game. I honestly do believe that when it comes to like modeling and art design, that sort of thing, I do think like a human is probably better than an AI in this circumstance, but maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe the quality of Genshin Impact, the pace of the updates is simply going to increase as a result of all these measures, but we'll just have to see. Moreover, only community and marketing staff at Hoyoverse have been affected by the layoffs, with no widespread impact on technical development personnel. In fact, several of Hoyoverse's technical experts have been transferred to Anuticon. So again, they are under the same umbrella. And so blah, blah, blah. And for the information above, it seems like miHoYo's overseas arm is not cutting costs, but rather accelerating its investments. After the personnel adjustments, resources are now more concentrated. Okay, yeah, no, this is literally just cost cutting. I'm not sure why they're not even... It's cost cutting and reallocation. These developments in various technological fields undoubtedly showcase Hoyoverse's strong determination to shift towards AI technology. So, at the end of the day, it does appear that all of what we're seeing over here, all of these lost jobs, all of these New Year shenanigans, all of these losses of livelihoods in 2025 is pretty much entirely driven by AI and how AI is going to be incorporated into Hoyoverse's development in the future. So you can view this as speculative, right? We don't know how good the AI is going to be, but I genuinely think it's going to make the game worse. They're going to save money, but I do think it is going to make the game worse at the end of the day, and we're just going to have to see how it plays out. When it comes to VAs, nothing in Hoyo's content shows they will use AI to replace your favorite VAs, artists, and writers. But a writer got laid off. But a writer got laid off. So yeah, a writer got laid off here. So maybe they were just bad. And they were just like lumped in, but I mean, nothing in Hoyo's content shows that, but I mean, the fact that the writer got laid off and made a post about it might show that too. Important to keep that in mind. And this is just a comment from Reddit that also explicitly says global localization team being switched is not bad. The salaries are higher. Well, think about it this way, ladies and gentlemen. There's a reason why those VA strikes are still happening, right? And it looks like the VAs aren't winning. And so probably what you're going to see is a lot more and more of your Genshin Impact characters getting their voices replaced. And we're gonna see probably some generated voice characters in the future. That's what I genuinely think is probably going to happen, because there's a reason why Genshin Impact characters and even Honkai Star Rail ones and even ZZZ ones haven't been voiced for literally more than half of the calendar year. I think that the strikes actually started maybe even back in like March or April of last year, and it looks like they're continuing. Characters are still unvoiced. There are still some voice actors who, I mean, and once again, hats off to them for being able to secure the bag. Typically when I think about a strike, right? Typically when I think about a strike, I think about like solidarity when the people that you're in the strike and that you're supporting the strike with don't get the roles. Usually the people, when they say they support the strike, they also, turn down the roles as well to show solidarity with the people that are suffering, like kind of suffering with them. But we've got a bunch of voice actors, right, in Genshin Impact that are still, voicing characters, still getting the bag. So hats off to them for either the negotiations. I do think it's still like a little bit weird for VAs like Sayu to still be voicing characters when they are saying that they're supporting the strike. I think it's like a little hypocritical, but I mean, at the end of the day, right, get your bag, King. Get your bag. no problem at all with that for me, right? It's just, you know, it's your livelihood, right? Who, like, fuck everybody else. So I think that the shift towards AI is genuinely going to happen at this point, and it's a rough future ahead for the development of this game. I really think it's a rough future ahead for the development of this game, and I think a lot of people should be concerned. I really think that a lot of people should be concerned, because this means that a lot of the stuff that's going to happen with Genshin Impact, and probably all other Hoyoverse games as well, it's not going to be made by people. It's going to be made by AI. And unless the quality of the AI is absolutely amazing, then you should expect to see like a overall general downgrade in what's going to happen. So hats off to the company for cutting all these costs, you know, big corpo over here, but there are a lot of people suffering as a result of it. And I think this is honestly terrible news, especially in something like 2025, right? Where there's a lot of people in really dire economic straits. And this is genuinely only going to make their lives a lot worse. But hey, the companies are making money, right? And they can keep developing your games and launching more and more of those predatory banners, right? So they're doing this to make more money. They launched the dual banners, super predatory, to make more money. Great company overall. Yeah, that's I totally see why DeWay cried way back last year and said they were going to make the game better. I just didn't think that this was the way that they were going to do it. So yeah, that's it for now, everybody. Let me know what you all think. Is Hoyoverse doing the right thing? Let me know. Peace.